We have a 2006 KX450F engine. As you can see, I've got the clutch basket off of it already. We're doing a case swap on it. We're doing a case swap on it because the shifter lever broke off, wrapped around after my brother-in-law hit a rock, and it poked a hole through the case. The hole is right there. Here's the broken shifter lever. And there's the new shifter lever mechanism. On this side, you can see right here, there's the shifter lever. The other piece goes here to the shifter cam to shift it. But when the shifter lever broke, it rotated all the way around and broke a hole in the case right there. So, let the process begin. So, I have the head off of it. That's pretty basic stuff. I'm getting ready to take the balancer off. Both balancers, I have the nuts broke loose already. I did that earlier. You want to try to retain this when you break those nuts loose somehow without damaging it. When you get the head off, so you want to take a look at your valves. Make sure that they're not sunk down in this area right here. If they are, then you'll have to have the head redone. There's a guy in town that is one of the best. He did the head on my Honda, and it's awesome. So, look for the best head guy you can find. As you can see, the 450 has a pretty big jug. This baby put out some power. To pull off the flywheel, you'll have to have a special tool. This is a flywheel puller. This tool happens to be a Bike Master. And there's the part number right there. Fits many applications. You can also get this tool in a Motion Pro. Gotta have it. Can't do the job without it. So I have the flywheel off of it. Getting ready to take the chain guides and the chain off. When we go back together, everything's going to have to be timed, so we'll talk about that when we put it back together. Especially the balancer here. Pay close attention to the way it goes. And like I said, we'll talk about that when we put it back together. On the balancer, you can see right there, there's a little dot. And then right there, there's a little dot. Those two marks have to line up. There's also a mark on the crankshaft gear right here and on this outer gear right here. When those two marks are lined up, our piston is at top dead center. You can notice the reference of the counterbalance weight is almost vertical, and then the lines, the marks are straight up and down. Mark here, mark here, mark here, mark here, top dead center. So I pulled the oil pump out, and this is what it looks like. Just a gear type pump. Pretty simple. Looks like there's a mark on the front of this one. Right there, that goes towards you when you put it in. Then there's a dowel here and a screen here. So I got my snap ring off to take my counterbalance drive gear off. There's another mark on the inside of the gear right here, and it lines up with the keyway. So that mark there lines up with this spline and the keyway, which this is your timing chain drive gear, part of the crankshaft. Right there. Nice. So on to the clutch cover side. I had the clutch basket off and everything, and so I took the housing off. Note the O-rings and the O-ring up here and the pipe for the oil filter housing. Also in here there was a washer that stuck to the case that you want to be cautious of. Anyway, it sits right down in there. Just make sure that you get it in the right spot, and this is what I was talking about right here. The shifter piece that goes over to here, which there's a little piece right there, like a bushing that you don't want to lose. So the shifter broke when he hit the rock on the other side, spun up, pushed through, broke the case right here. Dumped all the oil out all over the trail. Oil pressure relief valve goes here. Looks like this. Goes right here. This nut here is left-handed threads. Left hand to put it on, right to take it off. Going to pull the balancer out. Right there. I have a little tiny snap ring here. This pin just pulls out, the gear comes off. This one right here, little tiny snap ring here. Then this gear here, oops, this gear right here goes here. Snap ring on the top, and the snap ring below the gear. Pretty simple. Pay attention when you pull your Kickstarter gear and return spring out that you know how it goes and where it clips in. Clips in right here. So this is the shift mechanism here. It goes into the shift cylinder. There's some springs, got to be careful with it. There's some springs. See, these are spring loaded here. See if I can See that? So just be careful with it. This screw right here, which goes in the bottom, was loose. I wouldn't hurt to put a little bit of, maybe just a tad bit of blue Loctite on it and torque it to spec. Be careful with this when you take it apart. Look at it. I'm not going to take this one apart, but just pay attention that the shifter mechanism is spring loaded. If it comes apart, there's going to be some springs in there, so just pay attention. I got the shift mechanism off. Here, there's a dowel, little dowel, fits into that slot right there, and as you can see, let me see if I can get a good view of it. Yeah, right there you can see where it goes, right there. And the shifter detent system, as you can see, that sits on there like that. Then that would go like that. This sits down in there like that, cogs onto it. Be more like that on the bottom of it to force it up against the shifter mechanism. And under the oil pump cover, we have another oil pump. Dowel goes there. It's still in the cover right there. Be careful of it. It goes there. And then another oil pump. Back to the other side, removing the case bolts. The bolt that goes right here has a brass washer on it, as you can see. It's the only one that does, and it goes right there. This bolt right here is an Allen head, and it is a 6mm Allen. This gear here, I'm having a little bit of a, it's not coming right off, so I'm going to have to probably make a puller for it. I don't have one, but we'll see. I might be able to get it off without it, maybe with just a little bit of heat. I don't know if I want to do that yet. So that's where I'm at with that. So I got my case halves apart. Wasn't too bad, came right apart on that. So is what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to transfer my bearings from this case half and my oil pickup right here. I'm just going to transfer them over to my new case half right now, so it's done. Note the O-ring right here. Make sure that you get it in there. Now I have an Athena gasket set. It's supposed to be a complete seal and gasket set, but it's not. It only comes with the gaskets and maybe some O-rings, but no external seals at all, which is kind of stupid to me. But remember, when you do this, you'll have to order those seals separately. So I got all the bearings out of that case half, and all the bearing retainers and the pickup tube. Got all the Cosmoline cleaned off of the case half. The bearings cleaned up. They all feel good, so I'm not going to replace any. If I felt one was bad or more than one was bad, then now is the time to do it. So now we're going to put the bearings in the new case half and then move on. When doing your case swap, pay close attention to every little detail. I noticed that, turn it around this way, the top of the cylinder on this case half, in the old case there's an orifice that screws in right here. In the new case, the orifice is not there. So you have to remove the orifice out of here, and it's an Allen head, and then put it in your new case. Make sure that you pay close attention to detail. So I have my bearings installed in the new case, the oil pickup, all my O-rings are in place here. There was an O-ring under here for the oil pickup, and I got my orifice installed that goes right here. So as I was saying, this gear had a press fit on it. Goes on this side, the flywheel side. Wasn't too hard to get off, actually. Once I got the case halves apart, then I just took my tool, part of my flywheel puller tool that screws on to the end of the crankshaft to pull the flywheel off, and then I just used a brass mallet to tap it out, and it came off fairly quickly. So not too bad. In order to pull this shaft out for the transmission from this side, you have to pull the O-ring off of the shaft. It goes down in there. If you take a flashlight, you can see it. Just use a pick or a scribe or something to pull it out so that you can remove the transmission gears from the housing. If you try to tap it through, you're going to chop the O-ring. So just note that it's in there. Goes here, so this sleeve seals. This sleeve goes in like so. Sleeve, O-ring, and now I have my transmission assembly removed from the case, my clutch lever. Now it's time to transfer the bearings over. This bearing is probably going to be one of the hardest to remove. You'll need pullers and a slide hammer.